Hello, welcome to Module 8, October 21st through October 25th, our final module of the course, and it's titled Communicating with Parents of Students with Special Needs. This module aims to focus on families who are the strongest allies in building positive learning experience for students. Remember that the partnerships that are formed within the classroom should serve as opportunities to build supports for students with special needs. So this relationship that you build with the parents, or lack of relationship, becomes even more pivotal, in the success of students who are challenged with different types of disabilities, due to the fact that a lot of times, if they're struggling with social or emotional or even structural dynamics that may challenge them, their parents have been helping them through learning how to cope for years. So you need them as a partner. This unit provides participants with research and strategies to increasing methods of communication that support students achieving their academic goals. So the objectives are to enable you to know the impact of increased communication on student learning outcomes, and that'll be through your actual reading of the article, effective approaches to communicating with families about student progress and learning processes, and then strategies to form partnerships that support students with special needs. By the end of this module, you should have been able to develop the following skills: some type of evaluation of your current practices of establishing successful partnership with families, and then methods to help parents become active partners in supporting learning goals, and then strategies of utilizing the expertise of parents that they bring about their child to problem solve challenging situations within the classroom. This module is set up a little bit different. What I did was combine the introduction module with the actual lecture. So there will only be one slide or one link or page for this one, so just keep that in mind, and that's just to decrease the amount of space that this final module will use, and also just for time purposes. I wanted to make sure that you didn't have to worry about having to flip through different things after your prior to your reading. So for this module, you have the announcements here, and then we'll just go straight into the lecture. And you'll just have to do the reading prior to submitting the final project, and that'll be that. So by the end, hopefully you'll have everything you need to create the final reflection in the final project, which is due on the 26th. Our course ends on the 25th officially. Let's get right into it. So this lecture wraps up the last lecture in the course, Differentiating Strategies for Inclusion and Disability Awareness. The last lecture focuses on a hidden tool that most teachers fail to use, which are the parents. I think that parents overall sometimes create frustrations for teachers that, it's hard for them to get over at times. I feel like if the parent comes off in a very aggressive way, which sometimes happens when parents have had a long time or long term impacts of challenges that they face with dealing with their child and trying to adjust to the challenges that the district presents. They can sometimes be a little aggressive, I think, or even assumptive in the nature of your intentions. So I'm hoping that, after this module, or at the conclusion of the research that you read, that it'll hopefully encourage you to build new relationships or reestablish the ones that you have in order to better serve the students. Because the truth of the matter is, parent involvement makes a huge difference. So we will talk a little bit about parent involvement, what it is, and how to better connect with parents with students with disabilities, which I know is a challenge, especially for me. I have a lot of students that come my way, so I haven't been able to establish really great relationships with every parent. However, I do try to keep communication open. So the first, and I didn't put a slide in for the readings, however, I'll bring them up here. we have two readings. The one is not really a reading per se, but before we get to that, it's a fact sheet for you. I thought it was pretty good because it summarized everything I wanted to say. While being a teacher with for students with special needs, um, I noticed that the parents were my allies in times where I could not get in contact with parents. It made a huge difference. So I focused on the effective teacher-parent partnerships. If you continue to scroll down, you'll see classroom strategies for the LD student, child learning disabilities child, and then there's some other resources at the bottom. So um, if you do have students who do have a learning disability, which is one of the areas we focus on in this course, and that will be useful for you. I also included this, which is reading number 1, increased communication with parents of special needs children and its effect on special needs children's GPA. So I like this article because it talks about the relevance of, first it establishes a definition of what is meant by parent involvement, which I think is super important, and then it goes into how important it is for us to make this connection and expand what we consider as parent involvement and add this element into everything we do from now on, and multiple layered method. So parental involvement is defined by parent participation, several different levels within educational community. So can be defined as parents' aspirations for their children and their communication with their children about school activities, which affect the students' current learning and also helps to build a foundation for future success. Dimensions of parental involvement include home-based activities such as discussions of school, parenting style, and the monitoring of a child's behavior, and also the in-school part where the parent is attending teacher conferences and meeting or school events. So it's a double, multi-layered, double responsibility from the parent. And if you are tapping into the resource, you'll see that your parent involvement shouldn't start or stop with a mere communication. It should be a revolving door that goes 360 all the time, meaning that from day one, you should be trying to establish a strong relationship with the parent or with that kid's family. Why? Because they understand what ticks, what drives, what triggers your child, the child that you're serving for the year. They understand the disability. They were there with the diagnosis. They understand what they need to do in order to help the child through triggered moments or challenging situations. So they're your best ally, and creating that strong relationship is imperative. You want to start creating that strong relationship by planning for consistent communication. The article discusses the importance of teachers reaching out to the kid's parent to know when it's best to communicate with them. Much more than you would for just a regular education classroom, because like I said, the fact that they understand and know way more than you could ever understand about the child's disability, you need them to get through the year and to contribute to the success of the child. One of the other major things is to consistently communicate classroom expectations, procedures, or any other relevant information that will support the student in adjusting their behavior to the classroom norms. I have a colleague of mine who grapples with her child who's been diagnosed with an emotional disability, a severe disability. And one of the challenges is, what was the teacher expecting, and then how the child responded. So if the child doesn't understand and they already have challenges grappling with their own disability and understanding the world around them, it is very important for the parent to be involved, because what the parent does is they begin at home to align the student's behavior, their child's behavior, to the student expectations that you have for them when they enter the classroom. They can even create note cards and reminders of things that they need to do. Sometimes parents, like this parent I'm referring to, brings outside partnerships for counseling and for therapy so that the child can adjust and adapt. If they understand what you're asking for, what you need, this can be a part of the journey to ensuring that the child is successful. But it's only when you reach out to them and you're very clear about these expectations that the child can really understand and start to modify their behavior to fit your classroom norms, especially when they get into high school. I think this is imperative because a student will become unsuccessful because they may not be able to communicate, that they don't understand what you're asking them to do. So for me, I have a constant kind of check-in with a student of mine who has a 504, where he's ADHD, but he doesn't have a learning disability. He has a chemical balance that sometimes gets in the way of him. Sometimes gets in the way of him actually, completing his work, staying focused. So I'm there to be, alongside him. The next step for me is to communicate with the parent because I just got his diagnosis a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week. And maybe even send a list of activities that he was supposed to be doing to ensure that the parent is aware so then I can partner with the parent to make sure he gets his work done. The other thing is partner with the parent or family to complete assignments both inside and outside the classroom. The article specifically speaks about homework, but I want you to know that everything with a child who is challenged with any disability, it's a revolving door. It's 360. So what that means is that it shouldn't stop at your class. I know that a lot of us will assume that the child, especially once you've given all of the modifications and you've done all that you can do, that the job has stopped, but it hasn't. It started the first day that the child came into the door and will conclude not at the end of the journey, but past that journey into the summer where the parent may be prepping the kid for the next level or when they go home. So it's imperative that you open up this part of preparation for the parent. So for example, if you already have your assignments aligned, send the rubrics home with your child's parent so that they can too share in the idea of what the expectations are, so that they're reiterating over and over again, hey, did you understand what you had to do in class today? You might also consider adding parts of the homework assignments that the parent can then be involved with, so that then the parent can see what they're doing and be a part of the engaged aspect of the learning. You want to involve the parent in as much of the learning process as possible, because the more they're involved, the more they're invested in the child's success, and they're not confused and they don't get frustrated. They're actually a partner with the child, which turns into a partnership with you. So that kind of wraps up everything from here. I hope that the article and the resource that the checklist or the fact sheet proves to be something that you can use later on. I can't stress enough that with inclusive settings and students with disabilities, it is imperative that you focus on building those relationships. Even if at the end of the day the child does not get as far as they needed to get or as skilled as they needed to get, they will make progress and growth based on your partnerships with their parent and also with their families, if that's the case. So I hope that this lecture added something to your skills and pocket, for your pocket of skills for teaching. Please keep in mind that although this is an overview of how to better connect with parents, some of these things you've already probably used, but the intentionality behind it is what the relevant part of this lecture is. So be sure to work a little more on the relationships and also work on building in more opportunities for students to be successful using that network at home. I hope you have a fantastic day and a fantastic weekend. Enjoy your day off on Nevada Day. Bye.